What do you say, everybody? It is great to have you with us here to talk some Alabama football on YouTube. And this is Monday Night Quarterback, always brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums, right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. We got a lot of great topics tonight. I know it's a slow time for football, but we're going to get into some Alabama football today nonetheless. We've got the NFL Combine coming up. Bill O'Brien is still Alabama's OC. That's got to be a surprise. We'll talk some basketball less than 3 weeks away from March Madness and the field being announced, and Alabama firmly in the mix to make the field, but where are they going to end up? And then, of course, we'll get into a little bit about Juwan Howard and what happened in that Michigan-Wisconsin game last night. But, guys, like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Thanks for being here. He's Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillispie. What's up, Trey?
What is going on, Mick? Great to be back on another Monday Night Quarterback. And, this is a little bit slower time of the year, but I think it's such a great time of the year for sports in general. We got the Daytona 500 yesterday. We got all kinds of college basketball. And, it's just a fun time. Again, Masters coming up, NCAA tournament, like you said. We're going to talk about Alabama's chances and everything else. And, I guess really the only thing I don't love about this year is the fact we don't do as many live shows. We can't get in the comments as much with you guys. So please get in there. And, just kind of hang out with us tonight because we got a lot to talk about. Congratulations to Austin Cindric, by the way, on that Daytona 500 victory there. But we got a lot of different things to talk about tonight. You said Juwan Howard, excited to kind of discuss all of that and the way that college basketball is kind of treating this. And, on the football side as well, we got some stuff to talk about. But how are you doing this week, Mick?
Look, I watched the Daytona 500. I was in a Daytona 500 pool, and I had Brad Kozlowski, who was wrecking everybody, to win. And if he'd have won, my $20 would have brought me $240. So it was exciting. You get 4 drivers. The other guy I had was the dude that was the Burtons, the Burton kid. Harrison, yeah, he wrecked. And then some other guys I never heard of. So anyway, it was fun to watch, though. And, I was this close. The guy I had led the most laps, but he didn't win.
He was trying to wreck the field and get that victory for you there.
No, we didn't go down without a fight, though. That's the best part about having the 6 car in the Daytona 500. Also, I thought it was cool that Tootsie's Bar had a place in Nashville that I've been to. And if you ever go through the Nashville airport, there's a Tootsie's in the airport. So I thought that was pretty cool too. But
right, yeah, Michael Jordan had a car. Tootsie's had the car. We had Floyd Money Mayweather. It was just a really cool event. I think NASCAR is making a turn for the best at this point. So
yeah, Bubba Wallace, an Alabama guy, right, from down here in Mobile in lower Alabama, came in second. And he had a chance to win the race with the McDonald's car, made everyone hungry. We went out and got some chicken McNuggets tonight for Jake for dinner. So we eat there every day, really, for him. Yeah. All right, well, let's talk some Bama, okay? Before everybody starts commenting, just know that we love the comments. Get in that comment section. Let us know what you guys are thinking tonight. And thanks for being here. This is supposed to be a slow time for football. And with the way that the national championship game ended, you guys know is when we went on the air afterwards, I was critical of the wide receivers for not being ready when their opportunity came. And I'm just glad that Coach Saban has taken that flag and run with it. He's running everywhere. And when you hear him talking, he's really challenging the receivers and the rest of the team to be ready when you get your opportunity. The fourth quarter program has started, and I'm sure it's motivation for Alabama that they had the lead in the national championship game in the fourth quarter but couldn't hold on.
Yeah, I actually saw an article this week. I don't remember exactly who wrote it, but I think they were under the impression that they put fourth quarter on the T-shirts to kind of symbolize that they blew it in the fourth quarter there. But this is, a great program, and I think this is kind of the beginning of the next season. This is how I look at it, at least. And it starts kind of simply. You bring in the seniors, the veterans on the team. Jermaine Burton was there this week as well. He kind of, made his debut with Alabama, practice workout-wise at least. And throughout the rest of it, we see the younger guys come onto the scene. We're going to get to see some of the freshmen for the first time in this past recruiting class get on campus and, get a workout with the team a little bit. So this is, super relaxing, I think, for the team, at least comparatively to the rest of the year. When you get in the spring workout, it's going to pick up a little bit into A-Day, of course, during the summer. They're going to do what they can, and it's going to be pretty intense there as well. And into the fall, that's when it really picks up. So this is kind of where you figure out what you have. You work out for the first time with, the doctors and the different nutritionists and everything else. And you just kind of get a feel for what Alabama football is like. I think for some of these youngsters, some of the young receivers, like you said, this is a big opportunity because, you're working out maybe with Bryce Young for the first time, if you're a Kobe Prentice or a Kendrick Law or one of these guys, and you're just kind of getting that feel for it. So love this program. I think it really is symbolic this year that fourth quarter is on the T-shirts, and they did blow the game, or not blow the game, but lost the game there in the fourth quarter against Georgia. Overall, from what we've seen on Instagram and other social medias, it looks like they're off to a pretty good start here.
Guys, like and subscribe as you hang out with us tonight. Alabama football on YouTube, talking like we always do on Monday Night Quarterback with Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillispie, Chris Daughtry behind the scenes helping us out tonight as well. Well, when you talk about training, right, going through the training process, you want to win in the big game. The other thing that you want to do as a player is transition into the NFL. And the draft is coming up. You guys were down here for the Reese's Senior Bowl, and now we have the NFL Combine coming up. There's going to be some Alabama players in the Combine, but there's also been a lot of news and some threats by the players that are unhappy about some of the rules that are out there with the Combine this year because of COVID.
Yeah, this is a really interesting story that's kind of developing in front of us here. And the players, while they can, voice themselves as much as they can, it's really about the agents that they've hired to represent them. And saw something cool today. The NFL Players Organization, who doesn't, have dealings with these guys quite yet, really stood up for them and, put out a statement, released some stuff, trying to urge Roger Goodell, urge these guys to give them, I guess, more rights, if you want to look at it like that, in the Combine. What they're really complaining about, the main thing, is just kind of the lack of support that they're going to have there. They're only allowed to bring one medical doctor with them, not allowed to have any coaches there, not allowed to have any, of their support staff for any of the, those kind of guys. So they're trying to get at least another coach or somebody there to make them feel more comfortable. And it's going to be a bubble setting as well, which is, I know, a big turnoff for these guys because they're not allowed to leave the facility. They'll get kicked out if they're caught outside of the facility during the event. And I think one thing too that, really stood out as a negative is the fact that this year they're going to work them out on the same day as they're doing the rest of their combine drills. So you might see guys skip the bench press or skip a workout because they don't want to be tired for their throwing drills or, if they got to run routes or whatever the case may be. So overall, this combine does not have a very good structure at this point. And it's good to see the players recognizing this and, trying to kind of fight back a little bit. I think in 2022, Pro Day means more, I want to even say, than the combine at this point, because all the coaches are there. You're getting to, have your entire support system there on your campus, where you feel comfortable. And I think a lot of guys just take that more seriously at this point too. So great to see them fight it. Hopefully there's some changes for them here and they're allowed to have some other coaches or whoever else. But I think there's 150 players right now that are boycott, I guess is what you call it.
I was surprised to see all of the rules that the NFL kind of put out there because I kind of feel like we've turned the corner on COVID. At least I know we have down here where the numbers have gone way down. And then this latest variant hasn't been nearly as tough as the Delta and then the original COVID. But, I'm sure everywhere is different. People take different type of precautions. But I was definitely surprised that the NFL kind of laid this thing out. And I'm curious to see what the players really stand by these threats.
I know it. And I think for guys like the Jamison Williams of the world and the John Mechie's, what would this even mean to them coming back from injury if they're even able to participate at all here? For Brian Robinson, though, and guys like that, I think this is a weird opportunity, or maybe what could be a missed opportunity eventually if this thing is boycotted and they don't have it. Because for players like that are kind of, on the edge of a later round, maybe fifth round, fourth round at best for a guy like Brian Robinson, you need every single opportunity you can get to prove yourself. And the Comic League in a non-COVID situation is a great opportunity to do that. It's on national TV like the Senior Bowl was. Your pro days are a little bit more, I guess, kept under wraps there, where it's just the coaches and guys like that at your pro day. So for guys like Brian, I think this could be a big missed opportunity if they don't end up having a combine, or if he's one of the players that doesn't end up going because of the rule changes, or even if he does go, his day is affected by having to do the workouts and the drills on the same day. You just hate it, for guys like that. And like you said, I think we're kind of turning the corner, whether it's in society or not. In sports, at least, you're seeing almost all the league really make a leap, to get back to regular. So you're seeing fans at every game. you don't even need fans at this event. They just want a few coaches. So hopefully they're able to make those adjustments and, have this thing on schedule. Maybe they can get them another day at least too, to have the workouts and the drills separated. But I'm completely with the players here. You got to hope that, they have some movement.
Great to see you guys lighten up the comments section. We appreciate it as you hang out with us for Monday Night Quarterback here on Bama Insider and the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Alabama football on YouTube, guys. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate you being here to talk Alabama football. And when we talk Alabama football here, you got to talk about the coordinators. And it's been quite a year for both the offensive and the defensive coordinator at Alabama. Let's start with Bill O'Brien. Are you surprised at all that Bill O'Brien is still at Alabama?
I am. I'm quite surprised, honestly. I thought he was, almost a for sure one and done kind of coach here. He's an NFL guy. He kind of has that mentality, I think. I think he's going to bounce back in the NFL when his time is up at Alabama. But yeah, I really thought you have a Heisman winner, you get to the national title, you have a pretty well-powered offense. Didn't run the ball quite as much as we would have liked to see this year. But, I thought he had an NFL job, one that he would have accepted, lined up at least. Maybe he did and just decided, hey, I want one more season with Bryce Young. I want one more season with these young receivers and, whole new running back room here. So maybe, there's still time. Maybe he will not be the offensive coordinator this upcoming season, but I think all signs are pointing to Bill O'Brien coming back. And I know he got some criticism this season, but I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing for Alabama.
Yeah, look, the guy did a great job. I mean, like sometimes you question play calls and all of that, but you look at Alabama's offense with Brian Robinson as really their only running back for a majority of the season, and the problems that they had with injuries in the receiver spot and mentoring Bryce Young, and you see how far that Alabama team got. And had Jamison Williams stayed healthy, who knows how it would have turned out. I'm just surprised that Bill O'Brien is still at Alabama because there were so many rumors that he was going to be leaving. We had him going to the Patriots. We had him going maybe, I don't know, other places. And maybe he feels like, look, if I stay at Alabama, I have a national championship team. We win the national championship next year, I'll have my pick of jobs.
Oh, for sure. I think that's definitely part of it. And I think it's just playing for the national champion coach the time. Being Saban opens up so many doors. I think he really is taking the opportunity to learn that process and just kind of get right. This is a rehab opportunity for any coach that wants to come here after a tough situation like he had in Houston. And I think he's really taking advantage of that. He's, shaping his craft, really getting back into that NFL mindset. And I think really ultimately what doomed him in the NFL wasn't his coaching ability. It was just his managerial, issues with GM there. He couldn't work it out with their had to pick between him and Deshaun Watson and really didn't make the right choice. And there's some other stuff that went down, after that, obviously. But I just think he's really going to take advantage of being with greatest of all time, having the chance to learn what it's like to run an organization. I think that's kind of was his flaw when he was GM in Houston. He just didn't have the organizational skill at that point. Something really good here. On the other side of things, maybe there's still a job out there and maybe he's just trying to find the perfect position at this point. But hey, he will have another chance to win a national title. If there's a team, I think within the next couple of seasons, this is the team. You have Bryce Young in his junior season, Will Anderson on the other side, and, really powerful offense he gets to work with too. So I'm not surprised necessarily, but there's still time. So maybe he does end up going to the NFL this year, but I like it. I love Bill O'Brien.
So it looks like Bill O'Brien, late in the process, hanging around, Alabama's offensive coordinator, and they still have Pete Golding. Pete Golding making news in the offseason for the wrong reason. Of course, he got an arrest for a DUI. Not sure how that's going to turn out. Of course, he apologized. It's a stressful job, man. I'll tell you what, being the defensive coordinator at Alabama, it's stressful. It's tough. But you know what? The defense has been really good down the stretch the last two seasons, and they carried Alabama in the postseason. Some of the big games like the Iron Bowl, the defense stepped up. I'm not surprised that Pete Golding has stuck around.
I'm not too surprised either. This is a guy that is just a football mind. I mean, he talks football, I think, even to his wife and kids when he goes home. This dude is so passionate about the game, so passionate about defense. And my dad has so many, age-old phrases that he likes to use, but I think his favorite is just players make plays. And when people got here, that's the players are kind of the right players for what he was trying to do, at least. It was a talented defense or had talented guys at certain parts of it, but now we're seeing his guys be on the defense and, seeing this younger urge outside linebacker and, even a cornerback now. I'm so excited to see what he can do. We may have another commitment tomorrow in Jalil Hurley joining that secondary group there. So I think sticking it out here wasn't even a decision for Nick Saban. He loves Pete Golding. I think he's going to really give him as many opportunities, as he can. And Pete Golding did make the mistake a couple weeks ago of having that for DUI. But I think that's something that he can learn from as well. You have to hope he does. And, giving him a second chance, I don't think is the biggest deal in the world. There was a guy that got a DUI here his freshman year. He went on to, be a Heisman finalist, win the school national title. Now he's winning a lot of games for the Patriots in the NFL. So I think the second chance was always going to be there for Pete Golding. I'm glad Nick Saban has decided to stick it out because Pete Golding probably, has gotten more hate than anybody in our comment section on Twitter and articles even. But I really do think he's a great football mind. And, we're going to really get to see what he can do with his players at every position on defense.
Yeah, and there's a look at his resume, fourth year on Alabama staff, and, the overall defense has been in the top 10. Football's just changed a lot as far as the way that you stop teams and really just try to slow them down. I mean, just the game of football is set up in college to be all offense.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's 2022. It's air raids everywhere. And in the SEC, I didn't think we would see that change quite as quickly as we have. We start west and make its way kind of, down to the Southwest and then up north to the Big Ten and everything else. Big Ten is still having to make that transition. But it's, at certain points in the SEC, I think it just kind of clicked, like the LSUs of the world, or, even for schools like Alabama now. I never thought we would see Alabama throw the ball more than they run the football. And, in 2022, when you're having to defend schools like LSU or these schools that are able to kind of stockpile receivers in the state of Louisiana or in Texas or wherever that may be, it is hard to defend, hard to get the other team off the scoreboard. But, kind of just look at position by position. How is the defense playing together? Back in 2000, I think it was, what was the year, number 6, 2019, didn't really have a lot of chemistry in the middle of it. There wasn't a great communicator at inside linebacker, and they just didn't have a flow. There was youngsters, there were some veterans on that defense. It just didn't really click. That's the year that Joe Burrow came in and exposed that defense. And, the first time that we really started at peak. But, now that they have that flow, they have the communication, they have a Henry To'oTo'o on their team who thankfully will be coming back for this season. And, they have some elite talent at cornerback and on the side. I think you'll love what this guy's doing, and you just have to trust him because look at the numbers there. Top 10 defense the entire time he's been here, all things considered, with the way the game is changing and how much teams are scoring and how much they're throwing the ball, everything else that goes into it. Pete Golding, all things considered, has done a great job. At a school that has dominated for a decade based off of great defense, it's easy to get incredibly particular, and I understand it. You had some big names come through this program before Pete Golding, but just got to trust the guy and, see what happens with this team, because this team, I think, really has the potential to completely change the overall opinion on Pete Golding.
Yep, no doubt about it. Guys, we love talking football with you. Alabama football right here on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe as you hang out. Over 75,000 subscribers to the channel, and we want you, if you're not already, to be part of what we do. Before we talk about a little bit of basketball, one more thing. I'm just going to throw this in here. We didn't have it in our original game plan. But let's talk about the college football playoff format. It has been announced that they aren't going to add teams to it. They're going to try to get back to the table and discuss this thing. It's going to stay at 4 teams until after the 26th season.
Yeah, this is what I expected. I'll say that. This is not necessarily what I wanted. I've always been a propose 6 teams. I think that would be the perfect format. Maybe you go 5 Power 5 champions in an at-large bid, whatever the case may be. But I think 6 teams would work. You give the top 2 a bye. That you just add a little bit. I don't think you need to add a lot, because in any given year, I don't think 8 teams that are, pretty relatively similar in talent, or at least in resume. And look at this past year, even Cincinnati was able to sneak into the playoff. And that's credit to that team. They're very talented, but there's not many years where you need 8 teams in your playoff. 4 has worked, and I think 4 is great, but 4 is now, really devalued every other bowl game and really kind of added too much value to the conference championship games, if you want to look at it like that. I think if you hate, you could now have more valuable football games. You could have the New Year's Six mean a little bit more all the way around, rather than just 2 games in a national title being the only games that people really care about. So that would be a positive with 8, maybe 12 even, if you really want to extend it out here and, add some drama to it while you keep those buys and at-large bids at the same time. I think 6 is the number, though. I think that's a good starting point, at least. If you want to expand it, just kind of, dip your toes a little bit further into the water and test that out. But I think this is something that's going to be debated for the rest of time. I don't necessarily think there's a perfect way to go about this. Year to year, you can make the argument for this format or that format. Just going off this past year, you don't need any more than 6, in my opinion.
Look, I'm just going to tell you that I love it at 4, and I would prefer we go back to 2. The problem that I have with expanding the playoffs is that the college football regular season is sacred. And I know ESPN is pushing really hard, the powers that be, to add these playoff games because they're probably going to be the network that has them. It gives people like us more to talk about. But the problem is, the rest of the regular season in sports stinks. Look, the NBA had their All-Star game this weekend, right? You look at the teams in the NBA, the way that they're stacked out. There's something called load management. You know what that is? That's where we don't care about the regular season games, so we're not going to play our star players. We don't care if we win, right? Baseball plays 1 million games. You go and see the Braves and the Cubs play on a Friday in June. Who knows what that game's going to mean, when the end of the season comes, right? The NFL, you get teams like the Rams. They won the Super Bowl. They lost like 5 games this year, right? And in college football, you're playing for perfection, okay? You are playing to try to win all your games. Now, you can lose 1. On a rare occasion, you can lose 2 and win the championship on a rare occasion. And that's because the regular season is the playoffs. The game against Georgia and Florida that takes place, is an important game. And, whenever they do that cocktail party, Alabama, Auburn, how many times does it come down to the Iron Bowl like this year? If you lose, you're out. It was a playoff game for Alabama. I'm afraid that eventually we're going to turn it into basketball, college basketball. We're going to put everybody in the tournament. The regular season's not going to count. And then instead of being focused like a laser on the regular season from kickoff of game 1 until, the playoff, the bowl games and all that stuff, we're just going to care about the bowl games. I'm off my stump.
Yeah, I sorry, I lost you there for a second at the end of the Wi-Fi. We had a crazy thunderstorm today, so I might be kicking out here a little bit. But, I think to kind of go off of that take, in a perfect world, if everybody was an independent, yes, I think keeping it at 2 or 4 would make more sense. But, when you had the Texans getting play in an ACC schedule where they're playing Boston College and Georgia Tech and Syracuse, when Texas A&M plays in the SEC West and they have to play LSU and Alabama and Auburn guaranteed, with another crossover game, it just, maybe we need to find out a new way to kind of make the playing field fair in the regular season, I guess, is what I'm thinking here. But it's just tough when, Clemson can lose a game Texas A&M and not be the only true test they have in the regular season, where Alabama could lose a game, but they're going to have to battle for their life the rest of the way in the SEC. I don't think there's like I said, perfect way to go about it, and maybe 4 is it, because you give a one-loss team the opportunity to still get in. But I'm with you there too, where it is that exclusive to get in, and it's that hard. It's that much of a dogfight every single week to keep your head above water. For certain schools, maybe it's a challenge for Clemson. Go join a conference where you're going to have to compete a little bit harder every week, but ultimately they might get the pass, and that's just the way it is. It's not necessarily an equal system, but it's been successful for this last, I guess, close to a decade now.
If they mess up the regular season, they're going to mess up the sport, and that's what I'm afraid of. It's not that I don't care that there's 8 teams or 12 teams. Look, as an Alabama fan, Alabama's going to benefit from they're never going to be not in the top 12. I mean, they're going to find a way in as long as Nick Saban's their coach. But at the end of the day, if what the committee is thinking, like, hey, we're going to add more teams in the Big 10, in the Big 12 or the Pac-12, you're still going to get blown out when you play the SEC or the Big 10 anyway. So if that's what you're thinking, it's going to look a lot like the first round this year and last year and the year before that and the year before that. The teams that we always seem to know, the teams that need to be there. The first round hasn't been interesting because there's always seems to be two good teams and then everybody else. And this year was a great example of it. All right, well, let's switch gears. But guys, as you hang out with us, talking Alabama football on YouTube, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. We really appreciate you being here with us for Monday Night Quarterback, brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums. We've got to talk some basketball. And yesterday in Wisconsin, Michigan and Wisconsin, in a dogfight of a game, and then Wisconsin ended up beating them handily. And during the handshake line, Juwan Howard and the Wisconsin coach got into it. Juwan Howard, a former NBA player. I told you guys in our morning meeting, I used to have his Washington Bullets jersey, back when I was a kid. Like I liked him. I remember him as a Fad Five, but I didn't like the way that he took a swing and started a melee last night after the game because he was upset that Wisconsin called a timeout. And basically what it came down to is Michigan had their starters out there, they're pressing, and Wisconsin put their backups in, and they called the timeout so that the backups didn't lose the ball. They were being competitive to the end. But obviously, Juwan Howard was upset. The Wisconsin coach should have just walked away. And all in all, a swing was taken by the head coach of the Michigan team, and then a bunch of the Michigan players started throwing punches, and it was an ugly scene. Juwan Howard suspended for the rest of the season.
This was ugly. And before I get into it, got to say what's up to Mike Coleman in from Prattville and Bud joining us from Moxville, North Carolina. Thank you guys for being here tonight. But this was ugly. I mean, this is pretty unacceptable. We said this before the show. I completely understand where he was coming from. There's, unwritten rules to every sport. But if you're 17 points in a game and you're playing at home, you have 4 seconds left, you have your backups in, there's no reason to call a timeout there. So I understand his frustrations. It's petty. It wasn't something that, Wisconsin necessarily should have done, but you just can't react like that. You're a college head coach at a Power 5 school that is now storied, and you were one of, the biggest names in the school's program history. So, to an extent, you represent, you represent the university even outside of your coaching duties. To react like that on the road, in an environment where it's easy to do so, just a terrible, just got some discipline there, I guess, for Juwan Howard. And, if nothing else, just exchange words. There's no reason to get physical with it. I think this suspension is, I don't necessarily think getting upset or, getting verbally or, even shouting at somebody is a reason to get suspended. Because I think, in sports, not everybody's going to be best friends at all times. This is a conference matchup and a big time one. They're ranked. So I get the frustration, but the second it becomes physical, suspend the guy, suspend him for the rest of the regular season. In this case, it's 5 games. I thought there was a chance when I first saw the video that he'd be fired after I saw last year with, Mark Sturgill at Maryland and everything else. Just kind of the way that we've seen, his head coaching career take this turn in Michigan. I thought this might be the last straw there. Don't want anybody to lose their job. So, I'm glad he was able to hold on to that. But suspension was necessary. You can't take a swing at a guy, especially as the head coach, the representation of the team.
Look, he got special privilege this time around, and it could be because he was an NBA star or because he got the team, deep into the postseason last year. I don't see a whole lot of coaches getting away with this, throwing punches and all that kind of stuff, starting melees. And last year he had it out screaming over at Mark Turgeon, Maryland's coach. You think something about, anyway.
I think it was the same kind of narrative, honestly.
It was the same type of thing.
I'll remember that, yeah.
He's got to control his temper. And I think if there was another name attached to this, they'd be fired. but he's a celebrity, and he's put in a lot of time in the NBA. People recognize him. Hopefully it's one of those points that he learns from it. But watching the post-game press conference that he had last night tells me that he didn't even get it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The same thing.
Yeah, I mean, this to me is a slap on the wrist. 5 games, a team's not going to make the tournament. Slap on the wrist. Hey, here you go. But I can't imagine Nate Oates doing this, Bruce Pearl doing this, Nick Saban doing this, Brian Harsin doing this. I mean, I can't see. I'm trying to figure out what coach you could see doing something like this.
No,
and not getting fired.
Exactly. And it's not to defend the guy, but he did play in a different era where it was a lot more physical, and you saw this happen. I mean, we saw this. You can find highlights of him doing this as a player. So I'm not going to defend him, but he's from a different era. So maybe that instinct just kind of lashed out. And, I think there is something to be about how he carried the M and, kind of just been a part of this program, really helped build the program and set them up for long-time success there. So I understand he's incredibly passionate about it. Maybe, that's what he thought was acceptable back in the day and just kind of snaps into that at times. But you just cannot do this as a head coach, no matter who you are. And, maybe if he isn't Juwan Howard, he's not the coach at Michigan anymore. I was honestly a little bit surprised to see that he did do his job.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit of basketball. Alabama basketball, that is. We're less than 3 weeks away from the tournament field being announced. But before that, love the super chats. Do a call-in show about Nick Saban calling out 3 players. All right, so you got here a little late. What I will tell you is this, is that you can always go back to the beginning and rewatch it on YouTube. But since you gave us $5, let's talk about it again. We kind of started the show with this. Nick Saban, has made it clear that if you aren't playing, instead of tweeting about how you're not playing, instead of complaining about the fact that you're not playing, get ready for your opportunity. And if Alabama had wide receivers that did that, they'd be national champs right now. He said that. I said it as soon as the game was over. I see guys trying to catch the ball like this, running routes where they didn't turn their heads. Honestly, I have very little confidence in some of those guys after watching the way that they performed in that championship game, and would not be surprised if at least 2 of them end up getting passed up by somebody else.
It's just so uncharacteristic of an Alabama football player. I mean, typically, they keep their head down and just kind of do their job, or, wait to get to do that job like these guys did. And they got their opportunity, like you said, and didn't take advantage of it. I don't think from the jump, social media was ever the way to go. And, for Jai Hall, he's kind of been the torch carrier here for this whole thing. I don't think he ever should have gotten on Instagram or Twitter, said these things. Definitely don't say it about your head coach, about your program or whatever else. But, when you talk about the transfer portal and all of that, at least say that, have the decency to save that for the end of the season, but then he doesn't even hit the transfer portal. He comes back and is a part of the program. And, from I haven't heard too much of the fourth quarter program or anything else, but you hope that this spring practice he dedicates himself to just kind of reinventing the way he thinks about it, because obviously is some part of his headspace just wasn't right in that championship game. Maybe that's reps, maybe that's just him not feeling super comfortable in such a big time game. But at the end of the day, I see a silly rabbit here, SB, getting in the comments saying he called Nick Saban a silly rabbit on Instagram. That's unnecessary, and I'm glad Nick Saban is calling these players out. I doubt, that's just the way he is. So I he's going to hold him accountable, but you hope they figure it out, because these are some very, very talented players. Jai Hall is so physical, and the hands and just the speed too. Would love to see him be able to have success if he can get in the right headspace. Yeah.
We'll see. Because, he's been very unimpressive on Alabama's team, and there's a lot of good talent in that wide receiver room. And it's just a matter of who's going to pick up the ball and or actually catch the ball and run with it. Pun intended. All right, guys, we're talking Alabama football on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. But we're going to pivot here and talk a little bit of basketball. Nate Oates and the basketball team with a 1-1 week. They won at home in a thriller against Mississippi State, a game that they really needed to win. Then they went to Kentucky and they decided to shoot the ball but not play defense. Nate Oates not happy about it. They lost the game, and Nate Oates has made it clear, Trey, that if you don't want to play defense, that you're not going to play. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this basketball team moving forward. They're clearly going to make the playoff tournament, but what seed, we don't know. And now all of a sudden, Nate Oates just seems like he's just had it.
Yeah, I get his frustrations on the defensive end. It's been a season-long issue of a lot of different things, and some of it I think was maybe not on Nate Oates. Some of it was on the schemes early on. They just had guys out of position in certain games, and he took fault for that when that was the case. But this has just been such a weird season. To think about that, Alabama is still being considered a 5 seed with Joe Lunardi, and pretty much every other source you can find somewhere from 7 to even 4 in certain cases is super impressive because of some of the losses that they have. And the fact that they went 1-1 this week and moved up in the rankings is a good sign. The country is high on Alabama right now. I don't think that this team, is a team that necessarily needs to change much. They just need to get hot. I mean, this is a team, when they score the ball, they can beat anybody in the country. We saw them kind of get hot last week. They played a really good game on the road at Ole Miss and, returned home and got a big win against Arkansas there too. So if they can just keep some of this momentum rolling, it's hard to go to Lexington and get a win, especially when the Wildcats have the best player in the country like they do from year to year, Tshiebwe this year. I think that Alabama just has to handle their business. We've talked about it a few weeks in a row now on this show. Just what do they have to do to make the tournament? At this point, they're in. They just have to handle their business and get some confidence because they may be a 5 seed, they may be a 6 seed. I think they could be anywhere from 12 to 3 and still win the whole thing. This is such a weird team, such a weird season. And, we've seen them get really hot like they did in the beginning of that game. Ultimately at Kentucky, I think if you don't have that flagrant delay on Darius Miles there, it's probably 5 minutes into the game, you just kind of pushed the guy. I think he shoved him right after, play was blown down. If you don't have to sit and review that play and kind of kill the momentum, who knows what happens in that first half and ultimately what happens in that game. But just the little things with this team, just playing better defense, really covering the perimeter is my biggest thing and not exposing the baseline when you do so. Keeping your fives, letting Charles Bediako be a big, just the little things. I get Nate Oates' frustrations, but I think this team is still on a very, very well, solid track.
They've got Vanderbilt coming up, and then they got South Carolina. So these are 2 winnable games this week. They're going to need to win, and we'll see what happens. But I love the fact that Nate Oates is kind of starting to dig in with this team because he realizes that it's now or never. They're either going to figure it out now, or this is going to be a very disappointing tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the SEC tournament could be where you get that confidence a little bit. Like I said, you don't have to go dominate everybody. You win a game, and you're probably locked into that 5 seed slot at this point. I have a feeling they're going to beat Vanderbilt. I have a feeling they're going to beat South Carolina and wrap this thing up the right way. And then if you go get 1 win, you could even be looking somewhere, maybe a 4 seed. You get 2 wins. You really start to get the conversation of a top 4 seed. So just handle your business and get confident. I'm going to keep stressing that as we get into the tournament here. Show some confidence because you look at certain teams last year, UCLA. They came into the tournament as a low seed. I believe it was 11. They went to the
won
Final
their
Four.
way in. Yep.
They had to play in the play-in game.
Yep.
That's a team that just played confidently and got hot. When Alabama gets hot, they can beat anybody. They score, nearly 80 points a game, and they've scored in the hundreds this season. They can score the ball, and at times they've been able to play some defense. Honestly, the first time against Kentucky, the defense looked pretty dang good. 66 points allowed in that game, but just getting the confidence, handling your business. Cartire's got an interesting idea here. Maybe letting Nick Saban come in and be an assistant coach, if nothing else. That might guarantee a title. But just keeping this momentum rolling.
Give him a motivational speech, right? Like I've heard that Nick Saban is great when it comes to helping recruit and doing whatever he can to help the other programs at the university be successful through Alabama's success. All right, well, look, we went a little bit over tonight, but it was a lot of fun. Trey, anything else before we wrap things up?
Guys, just have a safe week. I know we're kind of in this slow period still, but it's about to pick back up. We got another junior day coming up on March 5th, and we're going to have a lot of coverage on that. And we are going to be covering the pro day and, potentially the combine, whatever that looks like. So just stay posted there. Keep coming to Alabama football on YouTube, because we're going to have videos coming out pretty much every day still. And, just keeping up with you guys. So thanks for being here tonight.
All right, guys, look, let me tell you this. Our show is brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums. There they are, right next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. They've got 1 to 5 bedroom units available, the oversized balconies, 3,000 square feet, some of those units, from 900 to 3,000, the incredible kitchens. It's just straight luxury. It's right next to Bryant-Denny, near the Walk of Champions, near the Strip, right there by Denny Chimes campus, all of that stuff. So next time you're coming to town, maybe an Airbnb, check it out for yourself. Game days, they've got the Skygate Club. And if you're interested in buying some, hey, westgateal.com to find out more information. We hang out there. It's where we do our post-game show. They are incredible. Really awesome place to be. All right, coming up on the channel tomorrow, Andrew Bone will be on to give you an update on recruiting along with Trey Yanity. Wednesday, Trey and I are back again, and we'll talk more news and notes, what's going on with Alabama and the rest of college sports. You've got Kyle Henderson on here. We'll get you to anything that's happening as far as Alabama football, including the draft and the combines and all that. Look, it might be a slow time of year, but the 8A game is right around the corner. And when we get there, you know what? That's when we're going to really see what's going on with this team. And then I think that after the 8A game, you'll see some guys leave and maybe some other guys from schools come in. So the transfer portal could heat back up again at that point. Special thanks to Chris Daughtry behind the scenes. For Trey Yanity, I'm Mick Gillispie. Again, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We're talking Alabama football right here on YouTube. Roll Tide, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.